Hello, my name is Pam Campbell Morris. Normally introduce myself as BBC2. That's Black, British, Caribbean from the second generation. And I want to welcome you to Pamela Campbell Morris Caribbean Cultural Reminiscing Grip. Wait for this. Tara, come. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Pam. How are you?
Have you ever heard about Pamela Cultural Reminiscing Grip?
I have heard a little bit, but I need you to tell me more.
Okay, let's start with the grip. Now, I am 62 years old, believe it or not. And I know when my parents came to England, most of them have told me that they always have a grip like this. Mm-hmm. This is what they walk off the plane with. In Jamaica, we call it the grip. In some Caribbean islands, it's known as Venice, but it's the same thing. We call it a suitcase, but let's go with the grip. So, most of the times when you hear people talk about things from the Caribbean, like the artifact you're about to see here, they've either read about them in books or someone else have told them about it. What I want to do today, Tara, is to bring these things alive, because I've had personal experience of being brought up with the majority of these things here. Now, let's start with this thing here. Do you know what this is?
I don't.
Right. This is called a coconut brush. Right now, you know what a coconut looks like. Mm-hmm. This is a smaller version, a dried one, okay? Now, what happened when the coconut get to the larger, the mature thing, is that all bit of the coconut can be used. This bit is cut off, and in the Caribbean, because most of the floors are wooden floor or tiled floor, we have, as children, have to clean it. Mm-hmm. So on the veranda, for example, in the Caribbean, we have the veranda, which is done with peroxide, which is red. Mm-hmm. And part of our chore is to clean that floor. So maybe once a week, we would use this brush. Mm-hmm. And we would shine the floor. We would shine the floor, and it really come up well. But in addition to that, to make the floor more shiny, we'd use wax, a bit of wax. Mm-hmm. And we'd put that on a lamp, burn it for a little bit so it gets softer, put that on there, and that really helped to shine.
Can I feel the texture?
Of course you can.
Okay. Do you know, I've never cut one open to feel it like this. I didn't realise that.
Absolutely. Okay. And if I may, if I could just come around here. As children, most children don't like to do chores, but we make this fun. So just picture this. This is the veranda. We go down on our knees. On our knees, to prevent it getting sore, mm-hmm. we have a bit of cloth mm-hmm. to cushion our knees. And to shine the floor, this is the motion that we would use. You can hear that?
Yeah.
But as children, we make fun of it. So we'd use songs. So we'd go, for instance, so we are shining from the knees as well, right, without realizing mm-hmm. but we're making fun of it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you're aware, but all aspect of a coconut can be used. Mm-hmm. So within this bit here, the other bit of it, remember this is a part of the coconut, we have the flesh of the coconut, mm-hmm. which you can eat. Mm-hmm. You can roast it. A lot of people like it with corn. You grate it. You can make oil, mm-hmm. which we normally use in our hair, mm-hmm. on our skin. You may see a lot about coconut oil. Mm-hmm. Good for you. It's good for your skin. Mm-hmm. We cook with it, and all sorts of things we can do with coconut. So that is what we do with the brush.
So where would the milk have been? Where's the coconut water?
The coconut water, so let's go with the smaller version. So think of this as a bigger version. Mm-hmm. That's the bit we've just cut off for the brush. The actual nut of the coconut
is further
down.
I see.
And that is in a very hard shell,
yes,
which you'd crack.
Yes.
But if I might also say, the shell that we use from after taking out the nut, that can be used for earrings.
Yes.
For necklaces, mm-hmm. and all sorts of things. So all bit of the coconut is used. The leaves from the coconut is used to make hats mm-hmm. as well. Mm-hmm. And also another part from the coconut is used to stuff beds as well.
Yes.
Yeah? So there we go with the coconut. Now, what else would you like me to talk about, Tara? Just pick anything.
Okay, well, there's something really close to my heart. We were
Okay.
speaking about this, and this is something that I played with as a child.
Right? What
So-
is that? What is
The
it?
jacks.
Jacks.
We'd pick them up. You had to pick them up one at a time and see how many you could get in your hands.
That's right. So you can remember
Yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah.
Very, very much a children's pastime.
Loved it. I
There's-
played for hours with those.
Absolutely, and it is a bouncy ball.
Yeah.
So basically, the whole game of it is that you would throw that up, turn it over into your back of your hand,
Yeah.
see how many you catch,
Yeah.
and the rest of it you'd have to throw up the ball, pick those up,
Yeah.
and catch the ball again.
Yeah.
So it's a very skillful game. It's a game that we normally play on the veranda.
Yes.
And in the Caribbean, like a lot of tombs are in the yard, so to speak. So sometimes you don't want to go on the clean veranda if you've got all your friends there. So we'd find outside where there's a bit of tiled floor or on the tomb.
If I remember rightly, it didn't work on the carpet anyway.
Oh no, no, it didn't work on the carpet. So you have to find somewhere
Yeah.
where the ball can
Yeah.
bounce and so
Yeah.
forth. But it's a very, very good pastime, and I don't see a lot of this about now.
No.
And I normally teach these sort of things to my grandchildren.
Yeah.
So well done, well spotted. What else can you see here, Tara?
There's a few bits that just spring my memories.
Okay.
And, I remember my aunties having these back in the
Right,
day, and my
yes.
mum, and having to heat these up and being really kind of shocked at how red they would get, like
Yes.
that, how hot they would get.
Yes.
And even as a child, knowing that, why are you putting that in your hair?
Absolutely, absolutely, Tara. Isn't it fantastic that we can now embrace our natural hair? For years, we've been we've been trying to conform with what we think is the norm. Thank God we can now
Yes.
let go our afro hair,
Yes.
live like a free black woman, and let it flow.
Yes,
Let the fro flow.
definitely.
So, as a child, we were not allowed to use this. But when we do feel like being naughty, we'll go and get it and we'll use it. And the old concept of it is your hair would have been washed. You would use a bit of Vaseline to sort of moisten the hair. And as children, we thought that the more Vaseline you put, the straighter it would get. But what would happen then, the drip from the Vaseline would drip on your skin and that would burn
And
you.
it'd make your scalp
And
itch.
it would
My
also-
scalp used to itch with the Vaseline.
Absolutely. And as you said, you think the hotter it gets, is the better it's going to be for straightening. But it would also burn your hair off,
yeah.
you know?
I mean, my mum also told me that they used to actually put their hair on the ironing board and iron it
Absolutely.
with the.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's different to the irons that we have now,
Yes.
because it would have been similar to this, where it was put on the hot
Absolutely.
thing. But
Yeah.
it was actually, they would actually iron it.
Yes, yes. And as children, I'll go a bit further. When we couldn't get hold of this as children, we would use an eating fork. We would use a fork that you would eat with, put that on a hot stove, and
then-
use that to straighten our hair, because we couldn't use this. Our parents would tell us off.
Yeah.
So that's the iron comb. And as you've said, this is the bit that we'd use to straighten it to form the curls.
Yeah.
And following if you don't have this to form the curls, you would straighten the hair, and then you've got the various range of rollers that you would do to form, to use to form the pattern.
Yep.
But
And
furthermore,
I remember most of my family, because my mum had 5 sisters, and if of a night, come 5, 6 o'clock, all of them had these in their hair, and that's
Absolutely.
how they slept. And like that was the look till the morning when they came out.
Yeah.
And then you've got some,
beautiful curls.
Yeah.
And it also furthermore become fashionable, whereas people weren't just putting it in at night and taking it out in the mornings. People would go about their shopping business and with their rollers head, because it was beautiful pattern as well. You know, and when it's come to party at night, they've got the crispest hairstyle.
Yeah.
But, I do this reminiscing box with a lot of elderly people, and they knew all about this. And I normally have a piece of brown paper. And I would say, just pick anything and tell me what you know about it. And everyone would leave that bit of brown paper. And I says, well, no one has picked that up. And they would say, yeah, Pam, there's a bit of brown paper. And I said, what do you used to do with that? Because before, or if some people couldn't afford to buy the rollers, that bit of newspaper you would roll it, and you would use that to as a roller for your hair, and it would give the same effect as a roller. Okay. So we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Yeah. Right. Now, in the Caribbean, I'm normally from the country. Very proud of coming from the country, as they say, going back to country living. There is fresh and clean. Love it. You have the yard. It's full of dust and so forth. And nothing more for people to be proud of is to sweep the yard. Yes? Now, this is a smaller version of what we call a broom or a yard brush. Yeah? And it's normally a bigger one. So in the morning again, our chores as young people is to sweep the yard before we go to school. We've got all those chores to do. But to prevent the dust from rising, we would sprinkle with a bit of water and then sweep the yard. So that is our yard brush or the broom. Yeah? Now, anything else you've seen here that you'd want to know?
There's a few, but I mean the oil lamps. One of my aunties absolutely loved. My auntie Catherine, that unfortunately passed away this year. She had a collection of oil lamps. She absolutely loved them. So I remember they were all around her house. For
Absolutely.
Many years. Yeah.
You could never go to a Caribbean house here, even in the UK, without seeing one of these. Yeah. It's normally filled with kerosene oil or paraffin. And as you can see, there's a little thing there. It's got a wick inside, and you would turn it, light the wick. This comes off. You would light the wick, and then you would turn it down, and then it would just form the light for the whole of the house. Yeah. But as children, once again, every Saturday, every evening, because you can just imagine this sometimes gives off like a bit of smoke, and it sort of make the glass, the shade, a bit cloudy. So every evening before we light the lamp, we have to get our little hands here in there and clean that with newspaper or cloth. On a Saturday, we give it a bit better treatment. We'd wash it with soapy water. And I'm telling you, we have to be careful that as children, you don't break this. Yep. You're in big trouble if you do. The wick, from time to time, we use the scissors and just level it off, and it stops it forming the smoke. But that is a fantastic thing that every Caribbean house you would go in, you would see. Yeah. Furthermore, moving on to this. Do you know what this is?
Is that what held the oil?
No, this is a tin lamp.
Okay.
Very similar to this, but we're talking about people in the Caribbean who sometimes couldn't afford everything. This is made out of a simple condensed milk tin. Yeah? And the same effect that would have without the shade is that you would put the oil in this, you'd put a wick that would comes up there, you would put that there, and that if you have to go outside where there's no light, you've got this. Okay. This is also known as the kitchen bitch.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so this is what this is known as. Okay. It's a tin lamp which is used around the house. You carry it around and around the yard and so forth. Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you something that I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Which is this?
Okay, right. This is called. Some people say it's a shack. Some people say it's a shaker. This one, believe it or not, I went to Mexico last year, and I picked this up from the flamboyant tree in Mexico. This one, but I've got another one at home that I brought back from the Caribbean as well, and it comes from the flamboyant tree. Yeah, in schools, children play all sorts of instruments, and again, there's a lot of things that people use around from the trees and so forth. So you'll have a child shaking this while they're making, even in church, some people use it as a tambourine to make.
So it is a leaf?
No, it's like a pod. It's like a pod, and what's in there is the seeds. Yeah. It's the pips that are in there that makes that sound. Okay. When you see from the tree, you may see some of it will split open, and if you open it, it's just the seeds that are in there, the pips that are in there that make that sound.
Wow, okay.
So these you'll find there's a lot in the schools in Caribbean where children will be playing instruments, along with this one, which is another.
I'm a Trini.
Absolutely, yes. And also, again, we'd have the drum, little drum, which is made from a bamboo, and it's just children making sounds with simple instruments. As well, you would find another instrument, which is a guitar, where they would sort of strip a bit of the bamboo, and that would formulate the strings of a guitar with like a bit of a wood that side to keep it off the bamboo itself, and children would make sounds with that as a real guitar, believe it or not. So those are some of the things that children would use in the school. Right. Now,
I think you've got to talk about this because it's one thing we all, well, most of us have seen it, but maybe not known what it is.
That's right. That's right. This here is called Worry. And I'm going to say straight up, I don't know enough about Worry game. I've been showed it and I don't get it. It is played in the Caribbean, it's played in Africa, and I understand that Antigua is renowned for this sort of game here. It's got the beans, and apparently, I'm not even going to try and explain it because I don't understand it, but the idea is to get some of the seeds across to the other game and taking it's a swapping and changing and so forth.
It's a lot of 2 in here and 2 there and but I don't understand the rules either.
But I will get to learn that game at some point. But another very, very popular pastime in terms of games in the Caribbean, cultural game, is the dominoes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if you're aware that I'm the queen of dominoes. Some people won't agree with that.
I'm not bad myself. We'll have to give you a few minutes.
All right, okay. So dominoes, again, I've got the miniature version here. It's one of the most effective cultural pastime in most of the Caribbean. You go along the street and guarantee you'll see a little table set up by the street corner and people are playing dominoes. I went on a cruise, believe it or not, and I was in St. Kitts, and there were some people playing dominoes, and I joined them because I just felt that I need to be part of that. It's the slamming of the tiles, it's the reminiscing, it ticks all the boxes. Social engagement, you know, it's fantastic game, but also very, very good for dementia.
Right.
I would say this is like singing for the brains. Playing dominoes for the brains. I can tell you, I've played a gentleman who have got dementia, and I couldn't beat him.
Wow.
He knew everyone, he knows what he was doing. So this is very good for people with dementia because it's a brain stimulator. Remember, it's normally 4 of you playing, and if we're partners, I've got to know what you're playing, so I play into your hands, but I've also got to remember what my opponents are playing and not to play for them. So you can see how intense the game is.
And you got to remember what's been put down and make sure you can count
Absolutely. But one of our main favorite is chocolate. Chocolate is a big thing. A lot of people like chocolate. Now, do you know where chocolate came from, or how it started, or how chocolate is made?
Well, it's this one, isn't it?
Absolutely. This, and again, I actually went to the tree in Jamaica and picked this. It was green when I brought it here, and we call it cocoa, otherwise known as chocolate. Within here, should you cut this, we've got some little pods, which is called the cocoa pods, and they're normally wet. And believe it or not, have you ever tried one of these when it's wet?
I've not, but I've took the cream.
Right.
And used the cream. I cracked it open and when I've been over.
Well, when this is fresh and when it's ripe, you would chop it, and the pod, it's sticky, and you can suck it. And it's got a very sweet suck to it. It's very nice. You know, but also when we as a children used to cut it and put it out in a pan or something, what used to happen, it would the liquid will come from it, and that forms a vinegar. That forms vinegar. Now, I brought this one because when the cocoa or chocolate is on the tree, normally you get the bats or the rats would go and bite it open. And I brought this back like this. It's been sterilized, it's been bleached and everything, you know, to show how that is. So how the chocolate, when I talk about, I'm not going to talk about chocolate that we eat now, but this is where it originates from.
Yes,
this is where it's come from. But this is the pod, and what we do with it in the Caribbean, we dry it, we parch it, and we beat it in a hammer. We use a stick and then we pound it. And when we pound it, we make what we call cocoa, which is this, chocolate. This is very much known, in particular in Jamaica, at Christmas time. We have chocolate tea or cocoa tea. So this is it. And it's normally pound.
So that is all this ground into...
Absolutely. Okay. And if you smell it,
ooh,
absolutely. It's seasoned with nutmeg, cinnamon, a bit of vanilla, and then once it's pound, you make it into different balls. So, for instance, that size, and but this one, it smells beautiful, and they last for years.
I just want to eat it.
They last for years, you know. And in the morning, what we do, we can either grate it and boil it with some milk, and then sweeten it with condensed milk, and that's the cocoa tea.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of pictures, because obviously been working within the museums and seeing the old pictures.
Yeah.
And I've seen the grinding.
What we call the mortar, pounding.
Yes. So I know that process, but I didn't realise it comes to that.
That's right. You can either grate it, or you can just drop it in the hot water and it will dissolve.
Okay.
Now your cocoa tea, drinking it in the Caribbean, nothing tastes sweeter than drinking your chocolate or your cocoa tea out of enamel cup. It keeps it hot, and it's lovely. Yeah. So that's our enamel mug, as we call it. Lovely for drinking with, and you'll find in almost every Caribbean house in the Caribbean, you'll find these enamel mugs. Yeah. Right, you know about the coffee beans?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Again.
Are we going on the Blue Mountain ones?
On the Blue Mountain, you've got the Blue Mountain coffee. So again, you've got the coffee beans. Normally before the coffee, it's a little round bean, and then as it goes ripe, that's picked, and it forms, this is the bean that it comes from. Again, it's a pounding sort of process, which then, as I say, the Blue Mountain is the best.
Yes.
You know, sort of thing it goes. And again, you drink your coffee from the coffee mug or whatever. Yeah. Beautiful coffee. Yeah.
And the Blue Mountain coffee is known all around the world.
All around
as
the world.
best coffee that you can get.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep.
And that is, it's around Portland that comes from, isn't it?
Yes.
Around them sides.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes. Now this. Do you know anything about this?
Well, I know it's a calabash.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is a calabash. When I went to the Caribbean most recently, I got it. So it's like that. That's how it is on the tree, and it's green. So I got somebody to cut it, and then what they did is take out the inside, and I dried it and so forth. Now the calabash is known for keeping food nice and warm, for keeping waters cold, and so forth. So people used to eat out of this, and it keeps it really warm, you know, your meals. In terms of drinking water, I know from a child in the Caribbean, our house used to have one of these, a much bigger version, but it's cut at the top.
Right.
And should in the night you want to drink of water, this is where you get it from.
Right.
And it's very, very cool. So that's the calabash, or some people know of it as the gordy.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So it's like a gourd, and it's a form of the
I've heard both
calabash.
names, yeah.
And again, as you can see, these bags.
I have one.
Yes.
I have one. I got it. I think I got it in Trinidad.
Absolutely.
Yes, I got it in Trinidad the last time I was there. Yeah.
These bags are made from gold, small gold or calabash. Well, it's not calabash, that is the calabash, but this younger gold. And people do the same with coconuts as well. And this also used to make earrings and all sorts of things. So you can see how diverse these things are. Yeah. So where else shall we go?
I think we should go for this cheeky one.
Oh, go on. Do you know what that is? What do you call that?
Oh gosh, what is it called now? Catapult.
Right.
Is it?
Or a slingshot.
Slingshot.
Slingshot. You see, you're getting too westernized. Come with the slingshot. A catapult. A slingshot.
I couldn't think of the name of it. To be honest, I remember what you did with it.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go much into it because but you know, as kids, we normally have these as well, you know, to play around with.
Yeah.
You know, and that again is just made from the branch of the best tree that they made this from is a guava tree.
Okay.
You know, because it's a very strong wood,
Yeah.
you know, sort of thing. So that's the guava tree wood, and then it's just made up, and you know, you put your marble in it or your stone, and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
I grew up with a good number of cousins, so we had fun with them kind of things when we were growing up, because you know, if there was any a time where we could pick at each other or throw things at each other,
it was then. It was then. Health and safety wasn't there. It was children being children, having fun.
Yeah.
If you get hurt, you know.
We'd make our own and find things and just...
Absolutely. Another thing we used to do as children with stones, talking about that. You know, we used to have, for instance, 3 stones, or how many of you are playing, and I'll just use this as an example, if you want to use, that Tara. And a ring game we used to play was we'd have stones, and we'd be knocking them. Have you heard the song? Go down a Manuel Road, Gellan boy, figure broke rock stone.
I'm not sure I heard the song.
Go down a Manuel Road, Gellan boy, figure broke rock stone. Broke them one by one, Gellan boy, finger mash no cry, Gellan boy. And what I'm saying is, I'd be doing this, you'd have that stone, we'd be in a line. So when I do this, broke them one by one, I'm passing it to you. You've got to pass that to the next person.
Okay.
Finger mash no cry, which means get your hand out the way, because finger mash no cry, and we're passing it.
Okay.
So that's the ring game when I'm talking about health and safety. We were making our own games in the street with whatever, with rock stone, with anything we can.
Yeah.
So that was another thing about that, you know. But just these, this, do you know what this is? What we normally call this?
It's a basket.
Or a bankra.
Okay.
You know, and most people in the Caribbean, they go to the market, they have the bankra on the heads, you know, and they have the loads in there, and they go in and the hand would be on the kimbo, as we call it, or on the waist, the kimbo, or they come in from town and they got the stuff and they got whatever it is in there. But this was a very useful thing for carrying things around, in most of the Caribbean homes, you'd always find these, again, other artifacts hanging up, you know. You would have these sort of things hanging around Caribbean homes. The breadfruit, the ackee, which is a national dish of Jamaica. But you'd have all those sort of things hanging around, you know. This I'll have to talk a bit about. What do you call this?
I don't know what to say, because I'd call it a sack, but it's. I'm going to let you tell me what it.
I think some people call it Essen.
Yes, yeah, because of the Hessian sack. Yeah.
Well, we call it crocus bag.
Okay.
Crocus bag in the Caribbean, and this is used for a lot of things. So people used to have to go to the market. They used to bring their yam, their oranges, and so forth. This would be full of whatever it is, and you'd see people carrying it on the head. It could be oranges, it could be yam, whatever it is. And again, like I've showed you with the background, they got it on their heads and they're walking, going about their business.
Sure.
But as children, you heard the rain that was pelting down earlier on.
Yeah.
As children, we would find ourselves in this and go to sleep. Just cuddle up and go to sleep in the crocus bag. You know, so again, it's us doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think the one thing I think, this one.
Yes. You don't know this one?
Do you know what? I've seen it before, but I can't say I know what it is.
Well, I got this from a lady from Trinidad.
Is it?
Absolutely.
So that may be why I've seen it before, but
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what it is.
And apparently what this is, you know when you make your soup, this is used like a blender. So you make your soup, and you put that in the soup, and you do that, and it's getting rid of all the lumps, mashing out the potatoes, mashing out the carrots, and doing that. So that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not one I know, but I know I've seen it, but I didn't know what it was for. So
yeah. Brilliant. Some of the things that we used to use in the Caribbean to rub ourselves up, Tiger Balm.
I still use it.
You heard of Tiger Balm?
I still use it
love
today.
it. Sometimes people use Vicks and that, but Tiger Balm, beautiful.
Swear by it.
Absolutely.
And do you know, I only found out just recently that is actually really good for mosquito bites as well.
Yes.
Now, I've always used it for aches and pains and those kind of things. Yeah. But it's amazing. It's better than anything else.
Absolutely.
On mosquito bites, it just takes out the sting straight away.
Absolutely.
So it literally you can use it for everything.
Yes, it is. This is in a bag here. You can't see much of it, but do you know what this is?
You know what? I'd need my glasses to even work that one out. Is it blue?
Yes, blue.
Okay.
Do you know what this
No,
is used
no,
for?
I don't know.
Right. Well, in the Caribbean, we would go washing the clothes, what we call at the river or the gully, or wherever you wash your clothes.
Yeah.
And you'd hang it on the line. Now, it'd be most embarrassing for anyone to wash your white and it's not white.
Yeah.
Gleaming white in the Caribbean I'm talking about. So you would wash your clothes, and if you go to the river, you would put it on the rock stone, on the stone. And what you would do, you would sprinkle it with water, you'd let it dry, you'd sprinkle it again. That's like bleaching it to make it white. And then the final touch to your whites is to have a bowl of water with a bit of that blue, and that makes it gleaming white.
Right.
So that is blue, and what we call it is the blue rinse within your whites.
Yeah.
So that's another fantastic thing that we use in the Caribbean. And a lot of people, we don't use that sort of thing now, but those are all things, elements of the Caribbean.
I mean, I do remember as a child the term, you know, the whites had to have that blue.
Absolutely.
That, you know.
Yes, that bluey white.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it sort of gleams at you,
Yeah.
and that's what helps to make what it is, you know. So, you know, I hope that you enjoy Pamela's cultural reminiscing grip.
Well, I have loved it.
And I hope this is really bring back memories.
Yes, just remembering some of the old things that I used to play with, or I saw my mama, my aunties, and my grandparents use around the house and whatsoever. So thank you very, very much.
Most welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.